Bonjour. Welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am the teacher, Bronwyn Slade. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and also on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link. It is available both for me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 until 10 in the morning, and we are in our 5th week of our 9-week course. At this point, you should be submitting work for marking. So a reminder that the support questions, the ones with the little pencil icon, are not for marking. These are practice problems, still a really good idea to do, but you can decide which ones and how many to do. It's great to do them all if that's what feels right for you. But if you're understanding a concept, it's okay to skip questions as you need. You know what is best for you. Also, if you need more practice, please ask me and I'm happy to send you more practice so that you're really getting to understand the concepts. The key questions, the ones with a little key icon, are the marked questions. So these ones, you need to do all of them. These are not optional. You need to do these ones. These are the ones I'm marking. So you need to show all of your work, your steps, and your thinking. This way I can know what it is that you know. And if you're struggling with something, I have more information so that I can actually help you. So how do you submit your work for marking? Well, there's 3 methods. The first is to scan your work and send it electronically. If you have a device, you can scan it using that device. If you have an Apple device, the Notes app has a scan function. And if you have an Android device, the Google Drive app has a scan function. These are fairly simple, straightforward point and click scan capabilities, but if you need some support, there are tech tutorials on my YouTube channel that will walk you through step-by-step how to do this. Also, feel free to ask if you need some support. I'm happy to walk you through it as well. Then you can send it to me either through email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at 74 Front Street. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Students can also send their work in by fax. Just let us know so that we can expect that it's coming, and so we don't have any issues with it getting lost. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel under the name B. Slate Wahsa. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded, and I upload them shortly after broadcasting to YouTube. So you can watch them there at your own pace or to review something afterwards if you need to. Also, there are short videos on my YouTube channel that explain common errors and confusing concepts. So it's a really good place to go and check out if you are struggling with something. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. Just listening to the audio is not going to give you the full experience. So either joining me live through Zoom, you don't have to talk to me, you can just watch, that's fine. Or watching the replays on YouTube are both great options. If neither of those work for you, please let me know and I'm happy to send you a copy of the recordings so that you still get the full experience and you really know what's going on. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and connect with me. My email address is bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is bslatewahsa. You can call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or also toll free at 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., but I teach from 9 until 11, so that is not a good time to try to get a hold of me. Today's lesson is lesson number 12, and we're looking at loans. We've done a lot about credit cards and really understood that, but now we're going to look at loans and see how they're slightly different and what the benefits and drawbacks of those are. So our learning goals are that at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to understand the differences between personal loans and lines of credit. You'll understand the dangers of payday loans and check cashing services, and you'll be able to determine the total costs of loans, including interest paid. So you know you've met these learning goals because you can identify the benefits of personal loans and lines of credit. You can explain the trap of payday loans as a never-ending cycle of debt. And you can explain what factors increase the cost of loans and why amortization schedules are useful. When will you use this in real life? Well, we are also building patience and frustration tolerance, as well as understanding these concepts. In my experience, applying for loans and understanding loans in the financial world is really, really challenging. It's not the most accessible or most welcoming world to try to access, but many of us need to do this anyway. So working through being frustrated and still understanding is a really, really important skill that we are working on within this course, as well as all of the math concepts that we are learning. But first, let's activate our brain with some mental math. I don't believe in mad math minutes. They cause stress and anxiety in students and don't actually teach skills. They celebrate memorization and speed, which are not actually values of mathematical learning. So instead, we work on developing strategies that you can use in various different situations that really are about your comfort and your skills. And you can do the best for whatever makes sense for you. That is the goal. So our question today is 37 plus 56. And we are going to use a strategy of breaking up by place value. Most of us were just taught to always stack our numbers, start at the right, add them up, carry, continue adding up, and not given any other tools. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do something that most of us were told not to do. We're going to think about them as their place value numbers. So we're going to think about that 37 is 30 plus 7. And 56 is 50 plus 6. So then we're going to add these up using their place value. So 30 plus 50 is 80. And 7 plus 6, well, that's close to it. That's a near double, right? So 6 plus 6 is 12. So 6 plus 7 is going to be 13. So then 80 plus 13 is equal to 93. Now this, I wrote it out, but it's fairly straightforward to do it in your head where you can just look and be like, well, 30 plus 50 is 80 and 7 plus 6 is 13. So 80 plus 13 is 93. It's fairly straightforward to do it in your head. And I find that it's a really useful way instead of trying to hold on to and remember what you carried. And I often have in the past tried to visualize doing that standard algorithm of carrying, and it just doesn't work. But if I think of the numbers as their actual numbers, then it's easier for me to hold that information in my head. All right, mine's on. What do we need to know today to set ourselves up for learning about loans? I just want to talk about who is able to get a loan. This is going to be different depending on where you are. But in Canada, you need to be the age of majority in your province or territory to receive a loan. So that is 18 years old in Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, and Saskatchewan. And that is 19 years old in British Columbia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, and the Yukon. So that is just something to be aware of. You need to be the age of majority wherever you are in Canada. Also, you might need a cosigner if you are young or have a low credit score. We've talked lots about low credit scores now. So if that is part of your life, which happens, or if you are young and you have a low credit score because you haven't had a chance to develop a credit score, you need a cosigner. And a cosigner is a person. So generally they are a parent or a close family member or friend who pledges to pay back the loan if you do not. So they are saying they're going to back you up and say that I trust that this person is going to pay this loan back. But if anything happens, I am taking responsibility to do this if I need to. All right, so that's who can apply for loans. And let's now look at more at what loans actually are. So a loan is when more money is borrowed with a legal promise that it is to be repaid. It's a lump sum borrowed, then regular set amounts payments for a set period of time. So you get a whole bunch of money to start with, and then you're agreeing to pay a certain amount back at a certain period of time that happens over and over again until you pay it off completely. Very common reasons for getting a loan are car loans, or for houses like mortgages, for home improvements like furnaces or appliance, or having to fix your roof, things like that. Education, getting a student loan is super common. Consolidation loan, consolidation debt, which we talked briefly about in a previous lesson, can be a great tool for you for paying off debt that you have, as long as you are wise about it and don't just keep using those credit cards or things that are causing more debt. So let's just do a quick comparison of a personal loan versus a credit card. We talked a lot about credit cards, so how are personal loans different? So a personal loan, again, lends you a lump sum of money upfront. You get all the money that they're offering to give you, you get it one time at the beginning. Then you have fixed monthly payments. So your monthly payments are set up when you get that money, and you're agreeing to pay that amount back every month, or if it's biweekly or whatever the agreement is, that is a fixed payment that you now have. They generally have lower interest rates, loans do. They can be used to consolidate credit card debt. They generally are used for large purchases like homes or cars. You generally don't need collateral. So you don't need something that is saying, well, I have this that you can take if I'm not paying you back. That isn't really how it works. So a credit card is an ongoing access to a specific amount. Right? That's your credit where you pay it off and then you can access it again. It's revolving is what they call it. They have it's a variable minimum monthly payment, right? So depending on how much you spend, you're going to pay different minimum payments, but generally remember, it's best to pay the full balance. It has a higher interest rate. It can help you build your better credit because you're using it and paying it back. Credit cards are used for shopping and everyday expenses, opposed to really big purchases like homes and cars. And it's an unsecured loan that's not backed up by collateral, or you can get a secured loan, which are backed up by collateral. We're not going to look at that too much, but that's something you can look into if you're interested. All right, so what are the different types of loans? So we're going to compare a personal loan to a line of credit. So we just compared it to credit cards, but now we're going to compare it to a line of credit and see how they're different and similar. So again, I'm going to repeat what personal loans are so that you really understand. So this is a borrowed funds in one initial lump sum. So the pros of this are that they're really good for large purchases like homes and cars. You have a lower interest rate. It provides the funds all at one time. The cons are that it typically includes a service fee and may have other fees that are all add up. If you do have collateral, it can be seized if you don't repay in a timely manner. So like if you are missing your payments on a car, then they might repossess the car. All right, so a line of credit, which also in bank terms is short form to LOC. So it's a preset borrowing limit that can be tapped into at any time, then repaid and borrowed again. So this too is a revolving credit, like a credit card, but it is a line of credit. So it's not going through a credit card company. You're generally just going through your bank. So the pros of this is that it's flexible. It is easy to access the funds. It's just like an account that you attach to your debit card. There are competitive rates and there's very minimum fees. The cons to it is that you need to have really good credit. This isn't something that banks will just offer you or will approve you for if you don't have a high credit score. So it's something that you can work towards if you are interested in it. It can damage your credit score if you are not using it responsibly and if you're not paying attention. So it can have a big impact on your credit score, which is not great. There is potential for higher interest because you are because you're paying it because it's going back and forth. So it could have a high interest amount. So payday loans or check cashing companies. So this is something else to be really worried about. So this isn't in your booklet, but something to really, really be paying attention to because it's a trap that many people get caught into. So they're all of these different companies that are very familiar. Here are a bunch of ones that I recognize and a few that I didn't know about. So Cash for You, Cash Money, Money Mart, Loan Express, Payday Advance, all of these things are something to be conscious of, that they are really, really dangerous and not going to help you out. So a payday loan, we're going to look at first. So with payday loans, you are being advanced money that don't actually you have yet, but will receive imminently. So typically within 2 weeks. That's what they're called, a payday loan, is that they're giving you a loan until your payday. So they are short-term, very high interest loans available to consumers. Payday loans are typically based on how much you earn, and you usually have to provide a pay stub when you're applying for one. There are a number of laws that have been put in place over the years to regulate the high fees and interest rates with payday loans because the government recognizes that they are predators, that they are not for the benefit of people, and so trying to protect the general population. They provide quick access to cash at convenient hours and locations with no credit check. Most people taking out a payday loan intend to pay it back in full quickly, typically in a few weeks. But when you're paying so much interest, it's really difficult to do so. So let's look at how it actually works out. So you need $300 for household repairs. This is not something you planned for. Something happened and you don't have an emergency fund. You need $300 to fix a whole leak or something in your house. Okay. You don't have that money, so you're going to go to a payday loan company and you get a loan. You get $300. That's what you need, right? So, and it's a payday loan, so you have it for 2 weeks, and then you're expected to pay it back. So you pay $51 in charges. So this is the general fees that they will tell you about. And this is equivalent of an annual interest rate of 442%. Remember, we've been dealing with interest rates that are like 8%, or at the highest, like 19.99%. This is 442%. This is huge. So you now owe $351 because that fee you can't pay, you don't have the money. So it's added on to the loan. If you don't make your payment, if in those 2 weeks you don't have $351, which makes sense because probably you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have extra money. So now you're charged a $40 penalty. So now you owe $391. So you borrow that. So then how it happens is that you borrow that again and you're back, you end up paying more fees and they just add up. So you're just, no matter how much you're paying, if you maybe can pay back a little bit, you're still always going to end up owing more and more and more. So let's compare this to the other types of loans that we looked at. So borrowing from a line of credit, which we just talked about, So this is the same amount that you're borrowing $300 for 14 days. If you have a line of credit, that's going to cost you $5.92. If you have an overdraft protection on your bank account, which we haven't talked about, but that's an option that your bank might offer you, then it's $7.42. If you get a cash advance on your credit card, which I've told you not to do because they charge you interest right away, $7.65. So I said it was like still a higher rate, but it is there and it is an option that you can do. And I've told you to be careful of it because it's higher than other options. But a payday loan is $51. So if you compare this, you can see how much more. It's like 7 times the amount of your other options. So payday loans are super dangerous. It's much better to get a cash advance on your credit card if you need to, because you're only paying $7.65 opposed to $51 before you even have any other late fees or things like that. So payday loans are super, super dangerous. They just are taking your money. So even when I was looking online to find different payday loan companies and to find more information, everything that I found had warnings that they might tell you where they were, but they also said payday loans are expensive. Then they often were giving you information about how to find supports so you don't choose to use them. So here on this, I took a screenshot, and here is, if you're experiencing financial hardship, call Credit Counseling Canada for free financial counseling. So we talked about this before, that sometimes financial hardship happens. This is not something to beat yourself up about. It happens to many of us. It's just something that our world is oppressive and does not set certain people up for success. So if you need help, ask for help. You can call 1-866-398-5999, and there might be someone, or there is someone there who can help you figure out what other options you might be able to use. So payday loans are not a good option. Please do everything else that you can before try to take a payday loan, just because they're practically impossible to get out of. So check cashing is another service that these places often offer. And these are where people bring in your paychecks or a check that you need to be cashed immediately, and the company cashes it, gives you your money, but they take a cut of your money. So they take part of your check, part of your money, in order to provide you the service that they're cashing your check. You don't have to worry about hold times, whereas if you're cashing your check at the bank where they don't take a portion of the check, they'll hold it, so they might not give you the money for 5 days or something like that. It's different from a payday loan because the check cashing service is giving you your own money. They're just taking a percentage, they're just taking a cut of it. And there's no interest or sum that has to be paid back later. So this is better, definitely better than a payday loan. You don't get all of your money, but you don't owe anybody any money, so you're not paying any interest. It costs an item fee flat rate. So the fee is usually like 2 to 4.9% of your check cashed. So it's part of you don't get your whole paycheck, but it's better than having to owe them money later. People use it because they may not have a bank account, or they owe them money, so they don't want to use their bank account. They may not be able to wait for the hold period for their check to clear, or the banks might be closed and they need their money. These are all legitimate reasons about why you might use a check and cashing service. So it's just something to be aware of, that they're going to take a portion of your check. Check cashing is not as dangerous as payday loans. Payday loans are really, really dangerous. Okay, so let's look at the cost of loans. And this is on page 11 of your IL booklet. So this is where your IL booklet starts. The cost of a loan varies depending on several factors. So the amount of the loan, how much money you're borrowing. You borrow more money, it's going to cost you more money. The length of the loan, the longer it takes to pay the loan back, the more interest it will cost you. The amount of the regular payments, the lower the payments, will result in taking longer to pay and therefore paying more interest. The rate of interest, a higher interest rate means more interest that you have to pay. And the number of regular payments you pay in a year. The less frequently you pay, the more it's going to cost you. Okay, so let's look at an example of how we figure this out. This example says calculate the cost of the loan and the interest period. The borrowed amount is $2,000. The monthly payment is $63.13. The timeline is 36 months. So we're asked to figure out the total amount repaid and then the total interest paid. So the total amount repaid, how we figure that out is we say, well, we're making a payment of $63.13, and we times that by 36 months, because that's the number of months that we pay for. So then we do that on our calculator. And we get $2,272.68. Okay, so then to figure out the total interest paid, sorry, go back. The total interest paid, we do the total amount that we pay. So $2,272.68, subtract the initial loan, which was $2,000. So we paid $272.68 in interest. So our second example, we borrow $6,500. Our monthly payment is $163.49. We're doing it for 4 years. So our timeline, because this is a monthly payment, that means we need to figure out how much we pay our years. It's not just 4 payments, it's 4 times 12, which is 48 payments. So you need to be paying attention to what your timeline is and if it lines up with the type of payment or not. So to figure out how much we paid, we have $163.49 times 48, because there's 48 payments. So that is going to be 163.49 times 48 is equal to $7,847.52. So to figure out how much interest you paid, your total amount that you paid, $7,847.52. Take away how much you borrowed, $6,500 is equal to $1,347.52. And that is how much interest you paid on that loan. So that's how you figure out how much you pay and how much you pay in total and how much interest you pay. All right, so now you can do the support question 1 on page 12. Now we're going to look at amortization, and this is something that can be tricky. So understanding amortization is on page 12 of your IL booklet. And this typically refers to the process of writing down the value of your loan. So how much your loan is worth at different periods over the time that you're paying it back. So an amortization schedule are used by lenders to present a loan repayment schedule based on a specific end date. Amortization is used in the process of paying off debt through regular principal and interest payments over time. An amortization schedule provides clarity into what portion of your loan payment consists of interest versus principal. So we're going to look at this to understand what this actually means. So looking at an example. So first, up here at the top of this schedule, and it might be different depending on the schedule that you get, but the loan details are there. So we have the principal is $200,000. So that's how much we loaned. We borrowed. This to me tells me that this is probably a mortgage. This is probably a house, which is often amortization schedules are given to you when you have a mortgage. The interest rate is 5.50%. The payment interval is monthly. The number of payments is 360. So that's the total number of payments. And the payment amount is $1,135.58. So that all that information they give to you at the top. Then they give you in the schedule of payments, they give you the payment number. So this is the first payment, second payment, third payment, fourth payment, all the way until you're done. And then also the date. So the first payment happens on June 10th, 2022. It doesn't have to happen. It just happens according to when your loan starts and when your repayment starts. So this isn't attached to a yearly calendar, it attached to your personal experience. So every month on the 10th of the month is when your payment comes out. You can see by looking at the date. Then the payment is the equal payment, right, that you are required to pay. So every payment on the 10th of the month, you're paying the same amount, $1,135.58. That's what you're paying. But part of that payment goes towards your principal. So this is your principal, the $200,000. So every month, only part of what you're paying goes towards that principal amount. And then it's subtracted from how much you owe them. The other part of your payment, right, because it's principal on the first payment, the principal is only $218.91. Well, the rest of the $916.67 is interest. That's going to the person, to the bank that you borrowed the money from. And then your balance is how much you owe after each payment is paid. So that's your principal, taking away the amount that you paid towards the principal that's the remaining balance. So that means that the next month, your principal is taken away from that balance. And as your balance goes down, then your interest amounts goes down, but you're making the same payment. So that means that your principal amount goes up a little bit. As you can see at the beginning of your loan, you pay a lot in interest. Most of your payment is going towards interest. This is how banks make you their money. All right, so let's look at this amortization example and look at the other one and let's answer these questions. So we're given an amortization calculator. You can find these sorts of things online. There's lots of them. So looking at this, we're going to try to understand what it is that it's saying. So part A, how much is each regular payment? So looking at this, we need to figure out how much is the payment. Well, here it says monthly pay. So that is going to be your monthly payment. So it is $1,687.71 is your monthly payment. Part B, how many years is it going to take to pay off this loan? So here you can look and it says this is an annual schedule. So that means that it is telling us what's happening every year. So we can see that there's 15 years. Also here, it tells us that the loan term is 15 years. Here, it tells us that we're making a total of 180 payments. So if we divide that by 12, we'll get 15. So we can see that it's going to take us 15 years to pay this off. How often do the payments occur? Well, from all that looking that we just did, we can see that it's monthly. How much will the loan have cost in total? So trying to figure out how much the loan is going to cost you overall. I'm just going to erase these ones so that you can see again. So here, where we see that it says the total of 180 loan payments is $303,788.46. That's how much, if you multiply the 180 by your monthly payments, you're going to get that over $300,000 amount. So then how much interest? So you can subtract 200,000, or you can also look here, tells you the total interest. Different calculators might tell you, they might not. So $103,788.46. So this interest rate is 6%, which is a pretty good rate. But you still end up, over those 15 years, you still end up paying over $100,000 more because you had to borrow the money, which is why banks are willing to loan you money, is because they make a lot of money off of you. But also just remember, a payday loan, you're not going to have it for 15 years. And you're not borrowing this much. So of course it's not going to look as high. But remember, this interest rate is only 6%. And the payday loan rate was equivalent to over 440%. So just keep that comparison in mind. All right, so now you can do the support question 2 on page 13. So let's consolidate what we have learned today. So we've been looking at loans, which is in lesson 12. So we looked at different types of borrowing. So our loans are versus our credit cards versus our lines of credit. So we talked about how they each are different and the pros and cons of each. We talked in great detail the dangers of payday loans and check cashing companies. Remember, payday loans, you end up having to pay tons and tons of interest back. Check cashing is not as dangerous because it's your money. You just don't get all of your money. We talked about the costs of loans. So the larger the amount, the longer the term, the lower the payment, the higher the rates, the less frequent the payments, all cost you more interest. So if you can negotiate any of these things to be either less or more, depending on which thing you're talking about, this is going to not mean that you pay as much interest. So for example, instead of paying monthly payments on things, if you can pay semi-monthly or bi-weekly payments, you end up paying things off faster because you don't end up paying as much interest. So it's just like compound interest that we talked about before. If the more frequently the compounding, when you're making an investment, that means that you are earning your interest faster. But when you're paying a loan, if you make more frequent payments, then your compounding means that your principal isn't as high. So that means that you don't pay as much interest when you're talking about loans. This is about the payments, not about the compounding period for the calculation of the loan. So it's a little bit confusing there. But if you can make more frequent payments, if you can make weekly payments, then you're going to end up paying your loans off faster and with less interest. Then we looked at amortization, which shows how much of your payment goes towards paying off the loan and how much is in interest. So this is something that is really good to be aware of so that you can see that at the beginning of your loan, you're paying mostly interest. This is how the bank makes lots of money off of you. And at the end of the loan, you are going to end up be paying very little interest and mostly towards your principal. So hopefully now you can identify the benefits of personal loans and lines of credits. This is best so that you can make informed decisions for yourself. You can explain the trap of payday loans. It's a never-ending cycle of debt. Hopefully I've really driven that point home and you really understand why that is not a great option. It's not free money. It's really expensive money. So really be careful with that. You can explain what factors increase the cost of loans and why amortization schedules are useful. Amortization schedules can be confusing. So going on to one of those calculators that you can just find online, if you just search for amortization schedule, like even if you just say free or something, then you'll find one online and play with them a little bit, really helps you understand what it is, how they're going, how they're working. So if you have any questions, please reach out and connect with me. I'm always here to support you. You can call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209. Also, you can call toll free at 1-800-667-3703. Send me an email at bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE at nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook, where my name is B Slate Wahsa, or also through YouTube, where my channel is B Slate Wahsa. Remember, all of our lessons are up on a playlist called MEL3E. Everything is there. You can find it so you can review things at your own pace, however you need. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Though I teach from 9 until 11, so that is not a good time to try to get a hold of me. If that time doesn't work, if you're busy, if you're working and you need some support outside of that time, feel free to reach out to me and we can try to arrange something that works for both of us. Thank you so much for joining me today. Miigwech.